The art of faking your childhood is a deceptive method artists use to mold their image. Every rapper or musician has their own persona, but specifically in hip-hop, many rappers portray themselves as hood or gangsters, when for some of them, that couldn't be further from the truth. And others even go as far to lie about their upbringing. While this method doesn't always lead to success, for rappers like Lil Tecca, Travis Scott, and even Drake, it has helped them achieve massive fame and influence. To really understand why these artists use this unpopular and disingenuous tactic, we first must look at their lives before the fame, and analyze why they've chosen to ignore their authenticity. However, lying doesn't always mean completely faking your life story. Sometimes rappers only use these tactics to write lyrics which sound cooler, and that is exactly the goal of the first artist on this list. Lil Tecca, or his real name Tyler Justin Anthony Sharp, was born to Jamaican immigrant parents who first moved him to Springfield Gardens in Queens, New York. He would eventually move to Long Island later in his childhood, where he attended Lawrence High School. As a kid, he had dreams of being an NBA player, but as he got older, he started leaning into music, with his inspiration stemming from artists like Chief Keef and Speaker Knockers. He started his career by rapping on Xbox game chats. This led to a small diss track war between himself and his friends, which eventually led to Tekka posting his first songs on SoundCloud. His first notable release was called Tech Tree in 2017. In less than 2 years, Lil Tecca would get his big break with a song called Ransom. To this day, it's still his most listened to track, with over 1.7 billion streams on Spotify and 500 million views on YouTube. Tekka made Ransom with a well-known producer named Nick Mira, who is most popular for his work on several Juice WRLD tracks at the age of only 19. When Tekka was in LA, he heard the instrumental for Ransom and immediately knew it would be a hit.
The night that the song was made, Taz and Tekka, they did 6 songs together at the Internet Money House. I just played them back over and over. I was like, these are hard, these are fire.
He freestyled the lyrics to this beat after learning that Juice WRLD also freestyles most of his songs. However, this would lead Tekka to say some things on Ransom that were not completely true. In one of the lyrics, we hear Tekka say, "I got 2 twin Glocks, turn you to a dancer." He jokingly claims that he doesn't actually have guns out for anybody.
"I don't have no straps for nobody. I don't got no straps."
In another line, he says, "She know I got the Fendi Prada when I hit Milan," which he then admits that he's never even been to Europe and isn't really involved with luxury clothing. He claimed that the lyric was there for simply the wordplay and flow. Tekka clearly made things up to boost his music career, and after the monumental success of Ransom, it clearly worked. However, this wouldn't be the only time Lil Tecca lied on a track. In fact, he would build a reputation of creating false narratives in his music. He would have comments jokingly made about him being a law-abiding citizen. It would become a meme to clown on Lil Tecca for not actually practicing what he preached. But the fans would not grow to hate him for it. Instead, they admired how he admitted to lying instead of trying to maintain a fake persona, which is something that Tekka explained very well.
Let me ask you a question. What's your favorite movie?
Interstellar.
Is it based on a true story?
No, not at all.
Exactly. Every good movie don't gotta be based on a true story.
Travis Scott, or his real name Jaquez Berman Webster II, was born on April 30th, 1991 in Houston, Texas. Until he was 6, Travis lived with his grandmother in South Park, where he described it as a grimy place to live. And while this is true, he would only be living with his grandmother for a relatively short period of time. When he was 6, he would move into a middle-class suburb to be raised with his parents, who lived together in Missouri City on the outskirts of Houston. Travis's parents both had jobs. His mother worked at Apple, and his father was a sole musician with his own business. Travis's grandfather was also a musician, boasting a master's degree in music composition. When you put all of these facts together, it's not hard to understand why Travis would become so successful. The love for music and art ran deep in his family, and he was learning from the closest people to him. Speaking of art, I designed a Travis Scott rodeo-inspired t-shirt. The shipping is free and it's only $28 for the first week on my website. You can trust that it's good quality because my Etsy shop has over 500 sales and 5-star reviews. So go check out the shirt and the link below, and I promise you're not going to regret it, especially while it's only $28 right now. Travis Scott was now living with his parents, and he knew that music was his passion, so he decided to go all in on it. But first, he had to finish school. Travis attended Elkins High School and participated in musical theater. He graduated at the age of 17, and soon after, he would attend the University of Texas at San Antonio. However, he wasn't really focused on school anymore. He would go on to use the money his parents sent him for textbooks and to buy a ticket to New York to make music with producers. When his parents found out, they kicked him out and told him he was going to be a bum. Nowadays, Travis is a Grammy-nominated artist with 6 albums, but even after all of this success, we still have one major question. Was he telling the full truth in his work? We know that he had a rough first 6 years of life, but after he moved in with his parents, he had quite a normal adolescence. However, he would only choose to spotlight the struggle. In his song Backyard, Travis wrote, "Every summer felt so cold, my daddy ain't coming home till fall." While this is likely true, Travis appears to be exaggerating the difficulties of his childhood. From what we know, both of his parents were together and around throughout his adolescence. He was privileged enough to go to a nice high school and attend a great college with money from his parents, which is exactly what he used to begin his music career. On top of this, Travis has mentioned multiple times in his music that his parents kicked him out, but he portrays it in a way that's a bit misleading.
Mama kick me out the house now. Oh my, I'm out on the couch now.
While this was clearly a difficult time, it's not like his parents left him to die, and I'm sure if his music career didn't take off, he could return to home and live a normal life. Travis Scott made a brand around being an outsider who had nothing. He claimed to grow up around chaos, danger, and instability, and that's what made him who he was. The truth is, Travis had an upbringing filled with issues like anyone else, but it wasn't exceptionally difficult like he portrays it to be. Either way, he's amassed billions and billions of streams, and I will agree, these more personal tracks like Oh My, Decide, 90210, and My Eyes make for some of my favorite songs ever, even if they are a bit exaggerated. The last and most notorious liar is the one and only Aubrey Drake Graham. Drake was born on October 24th, 1986 in Toronto, Canada. His parents are Dennis, a drummer from Memphis, and his mother Sandra, who is a school teacher in Toronto. Dennis performed at Club Blue Note, where he met Sandra, and they soon got married. However, when Drake was born, things wouldn't go as smoothly as when they started. When he was only 5 years old, his parents decided to get a divorce. While Sandra remained in Toronto where she would raise him, Dennis would travel between Toronto and Memphis, spending some time with Drake but never being a constant father figure. But this situation wouldn't last, and things would soon take a turn for the worse. His father Dennis would move back to Memphis permanently, where he would face trouble with the law. He became incarcerated for years due to drug charges, causing their relationship to suffer even more. After all of this, Drake was just a kid from Toronto with a mother who was a school teacher. Being a teacher usually doesn't pay much, and Drake states how he lived in a half house. He and his mother had the basement and the first floor to live in, while another family had the second story of the house. He claims that it was not a large or luxurious home, and it was all that they could afford. He attended Forest Hill Collegiate Institute, which is where he would gain his high school education. He would then attend Vaughan Road Academy, and he claimed that this institution was not by any means the easiest school to go to. He would then go on to drop out of school to pursue his acting career, which even though he wasn't wealthy, was a privilege most people would not have the luxury of taking. With all of this being said, we can determine that Drake's childhood was not easy, and he had a lot of ups and downs. But was it really as bad as he says it was? In his hit song, Started From the Bottom, he claims that he, started from the bottom. But in reality, he was raised in a middle-class neighborhood, attended private school, and was a child actor on a show called Degrassi, where he would star in 145 episodes from 2001 to 2009. If this is what he considers the bottom, then he would be mistaken. One of the first serious controversies surrounding his childhood would occur in 2019, where we would see Drake's own father go into Nick Cannon's radio show exposing how Drake lied about the relationship to sell more records.
We hear it in his lyrics sometimes.
I had a conversation with Drake about that. I have always been with Drake. I talk to him, if not every day, every other day.
Wow.
And we really got into a deep conversation about that. I said, Drake, why are you saying all of this different stuff about me, man? Like, this is not cool. And he goes, Dad, it sells records.
Drake would respond by saying Dennis was a liar and would say anything to people who would listen to him. He would even post on Instagram saying, "Every bar I ever spit was the truth, and the truth is hard for some people to accept," a sentiment that another artist would take very personally. The now famous Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef would largely stem from Drake's untruthful tendencies going all the way back to his childhood. In 2013, Kendrick Lamar featured on Big Sean's song Control and called out almost every top rapper by name, including Drake. He claimed it was out of respect and competition, but he just planted the seed to something that would grow beyond what anyone imagined. Jump forward 10 years in 2023, J. Cole would rap about how himself, Drake, and Kendrick were the big three. But in 2024, Kendrick would drop a verse on Like That where he said,
"I still got PTSD, motherfucker the big three. It's just big me."
Kendrick would go on to release Euphoria, and this is where he truly called out Drake, claiming that he was cosplaying as someone from the streets, when in reality he was just a poser. In yet another diss, 616 in LA, Kendrick continues to dig on Drake, saying that he acts innocent in public but really sabotages others. This led to Drake defending himself with Family Matters, where he would try to expose Kendrick's alleged domestic abuse, and how he planted fake evidence in Kendrick's circle. However, this was not enough, and Kendrick would drop Not Like Us, which, to say the very least, was groundbreaking. Losing this beef would further promote the idea that Drake was a liar, and millions of people would gain this perspective through Kendrick's music. After all of the drama surrounding Drake and his childhood, one thing is clear: he is not from the streets, and he started far from the bottom. Having issues with his father does not outweigh the fact that he was middle class and had an acting career for 8 years. Even after all of these years, he still gets himself into controversies concerning the facts about his childhood. Overall, pretty much every rapper or celebrity alters or adjusts their truth in some way. Everyone has their own reality, and everyone wants others to view them a certain way. Can you really blame these rich and famous rappers for being a little untruthful, especially if it makes them seem more interesting? And as Dennis Graham said, sell more records. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. Go check out the Travis Scott merch down below in the description. It's only $28 with free shipping for the first week. And if you're still here, go check out my last video, the weirdest samples in hip-hop history.